on the Social Star Awards, so one of the headliners was Aerosmith, and a few days before the event, I'm in the office and I get a call, and they said, "Hey, do you have a moment? Steven Tyler wants to talk to you." And then the person hands over the phone, and then there's Steven Tyler talking, and it's just like, "Oh my God, this really is Steven Tyler," and he's pitching me this idea he has, like, and so his whole thing was in the middle of his set, he so in between, like, I think he was going to play like two songs during the awards show, um, and so in between songs, he then wanted to actually get a mobile phone, and with Google Hangouts, right at the time, I think it was like Google Plus, and but it's basically have like a group call. And one of the fans on there was going to say, "Steven, you're so beautiful." He air kisses it, tosses the phone, and on to the next song. And in the theater, they had actually the technology there that would actually block your mobile signal, right? So people don't actually answer calls during shows. And then they also said that like the Wi-Fi there was not like super strong, and so everyone was just paranoid that like this was going to be a terrible experience. And then this is like during a live show, so they were trying to talk him out of this. Then he said, "You know, I don't believe it. I need to talk to someone at Google." So they put him on to me, I think maybe hoping that I was going to talk him out of it. And I thought, this is
But they
amazing.
found the wrong guy. They found the wrong guy who is fearless and didn't even think that go big or go home can sometimes mean go home.
Oh no, totally. So I then was I remember going into a meeting room, and then I came out and I pointed over to my colleague James, who was the head of marketing for Google Plus. He's actually now a very senior marketer at TikTok. And I was like, James, come over. And I was like, I put it on speaker. And then Steven's still like going on. He's looking at me like, "That's Steven Tyler." I was like, yeah, he's calling us. He's pitching us. And I'm looking at him and he's like, "Oh, we could definitely make this happen." And he's thinking like, "I will buy a Wi-Fi booster and install it into that theater so that this thing actually goes down." And I think the producers were like, "Oh, you guys, like, we wanted you to like not do this." And then it was like, "Well, can you come down to the theater? Like they're doing sound check, and he actually wants to meet you guys." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come down." And so I'm down there, and then one of the producers, so for the award show, they had asked me, they said, "Hey, can I arrange and get different YouTube creators to present each of the award categories?" And so for best music, or whatever that the music category or the award was, we had this creator out of Japan, Hikakin, who was beatboxing a lot on YouTube at the time. He beatboxed the nominees. And so we had this video on a laptop, and then Steven actually is walking by one of the producers who actually has this on the laptop, and he hears it, and then he comes back and he's like, "Play that again." And so he's watching Hikakin beatbox. He's like, "Who is this guy?" And then they're explaining, and he's like, "Wait, is he here in Singapore? I want to meet him." So as I'm kind of going down to the theater, then I'm getting this call saying, "Can you get word to Hikakin, have him come down to the same sound check? Steven Tyler actually wants to meet him." And so we get Hikakin down, and then he doesn't speak any English. And I actually hired a translator for him. And so we get these guys over. And then the whole setup was like, he actually wanted Hikakin to go and beatbox in front of the whole band. And so there's this moment that, unfortunately, I still have it in my memory, just watching this scene kind of unfold. And here's this like really shy YouTuber from Japan, like in front of Aerosmith, and he's beatboxing the beat to "Walk This Way," and then Steven starts bowing, and it's like, you are in, and it's basically, we are putting you in our performance. And so when we perform that track during the show, we want you kicking off, and you have your solo, and you're going to lead it through. So it's a moment like that was kind of going through, and then that moment killed. And there were some other kind of moments of creators in that show that killed. And then when I was leaving the award show, I had a lot of people kind of come over, they're like, congrats. I was like, "What are you congratulating me for?" This wasn't even my show. Like, my thing was FanFest. Like, I was like in the background kind of helping this whole thing. but I was also concerned that like this thing was just not going to go through very well. And it ended up actually going pretty well. You know, Steven in the band, you know, came to the post party. All the creators were there, and it was a heck of a night. And I'm then talking with his manager, and then it was like, okay, we need to. Aerosmith actually had a concert going on 2 nights later in Singapore. First time they were ever performing in Singapore, the whole in history. And so we were kind of like, we need to actually get him back on stage during this show. And the manager was like, no, it was a one and done. Like him being in that award show is it. And I was like, I don't know. The way we kind of saw it was like, if Steven's into it, then, you know, things will kind of roll. So we had backstage passes, and me and one of the producers were just hunting for Steven's trailer. And we're like, let's just hang out around there, and he's got to come out, and like we'll just bump into him and be like, hey, and you have a chat and say like, oh, that moment, you know, the other night in the award show, like that was awesome, right? Yeah, you should do that again tonight. So that's actually what we did, and he was like, yes, we should. And I was like, oh my God, seriously? Call his translator again, and we're like, I don't know what he's doing right now. Get down here to the concert venue, and then they actually gave him like a full minute plus on stage solo just to like freestyle beatbox in front of like 12,000 people. It was a wild moment. Then I was like, I'm going to push my luck here. And so I knew that they were actually going to go tour in Japan. They were doing 4 shows in 3 cities. And so I was like, you should bring him on tour. And again, I was like, come on, don't push it. But I actually went and pulled some data, and Hikakin had way more search activity on Google and YouTube than Aerosmith. So there's a lot of these data points, and I was basically like, you put him in your show, he will help actually drive awareness, also to a younger demographic.
Another continent. This reminds me of the discussion between Angry Birds, between Rovio and Lucas about Angry Birds Star Wars. You bring us the old guys who will collect all the toys. We bring you youth and China, because Star Wars had never been released in China.
Well, so I think like there was this bit of like, how do we get this kind of together? And so they ended up agreeing to do it. So he actually toured with the band in Japan, did all 4 shows. That then got press attention in Japan, and it was something new, because it was like, here's a guy who did not go through a traditional Japanese talent agency. He was unsigned. He was a YouTuber. And so it was like how did this happen? How did someone who doesn't actually have an agent get to perform and tour with Aerosmith? And so I think in the market ad, you know, the colleagues in that office there were, you know, picking this stuff up, and it's like that was definitely kind of making a mark. And then after that, it was a thought of like, okay, he was on, you know, Hikakin was on the up and up. And so then it was like, well, there's a lot of other creators who are actually now looking at you as like the lighthouse, and they're like, I want to follow in that path. And he ended up then actually being involved in creating a management company, which then later, you know, went and they've actually IPO'd in Japan. And I was just looking it up. Their market cap right now is $225 million.